The fortune is in the sales follow-up. Okay, so the follow-up systems are very important in your business. It is very, very simple, the follow-up system, and it is also definitely going to help you make a fortune in your business. The fortune always lies in the follow-up, says Jim Rohn. So if you think about this, a lot of companies are really good, and so are you, in generating leads or inquiries or quotes. And we're all the time looking at, how can I get more leads? How can I look for new customers? How can I go and find new people there so that I can get more business? And the downstream of all of this is that we forget on our databases that whom we had followed up on. So we have no processes. The companies, entrepreneurs, they have no metrics. They have no accountability for their teams. They are more of on an ad hoc basis, right? Oh, let me call Amir on today's date. There's not actually a systematized follow-up system. Now, I've gone into companies and made buckets of money from just this one process of systematizing follow-up. How does that literally work for, especially on an online business, let's say? How does that look in a system? Is there a time? Is there a code there? Is there dates? Are we going to have a follow-up and so on? Is there a CRM software so that you can literally go and do that follow-up? Instead of doing a more reactive basis follow-up, it's important to do a more proactive basis of follow-up. So you ought to have a system of follow-up there, is what I'm trying to say. And when you say, what do you mean by follow-up? I mean, you could do follow-up in so many different ways. What is your script on follow-ups? What is it that you send as blogs? What do you do as, how many sales calls do you follow up with? What's your email content? Do you hire a virtual assistant for chat-based follow-up? Like prompting the customers. Do you schedule weekly jam? Are there bot builders? And there are so many, So this is very important. Follow-up system in place. Now, a few years back, I remember I coached a company and I asked them, hey, tell me, out of every 10 proposals, how many of them actually become your customers? And like any other entrepreneur, it's always the inflated number. And what do they say? They say 70%. And they were wrong, because when we went down to measure, the answer was wrong. So I said, let's go back to a couple of months to your database and add it up and find out. And so they added up and found out that 3 out of every 10 proposals became a customer. Not 7 out of 10, 3 out of every 10 proposals became a customer. So they had a 30% conversion rate, obviously, which is okay. It's not great either. I mean, it's not great at all. So what do you suppose happens to the other 7? I asked them. And they said, we followed up and they were not very interested. I don't know. They probably found somebody cheaper to do the job. He didn't look very promising. So, did you call them? I asked him. And he said, no. We give them every possible details, he said. And if they wanted to buy and if they wanted to do business with us, they would have let us know. But they didn't seem very interested. So I said to them, do me a favor. Let's just call and ask them just one time. I mean, let's see what happens and let's see what they say. And believe me, what they found out was 7 out of the 7, 4 had not made any decisions. So the 4 they were good prospects, but they had not made any decisions. They sounded disinterested at that point, okay? Because they were probably not prepared at the moment, or they didn't have the funds, or they didn't need it at that time. But when the follow-up happened, they closed 2 on the spot. And here's what the people said, the prospect said when they followed up with them. Hey, actually I was trying to look out for your number, and I couldn't find it. And thanks for following up. Can you imagine the strength of follow-up? In other words, you are a pile of good intentions. Your customers also have a pile of good intentions. They have been wanting to do, they want to um, be connected with you, give you business. You are in that pile of good intentions. you know just that one additional follow up, really, that one additional follow up can really make a big difference. And so here are the tips for your follow up system. Number 1, I'm going to say, let's go to this thing about number 1 for yourself. Use a variety of follow up methods. So you've got to have follow up methods there. Use a variety of follow up methods there. You've sent 2 or 3 follow up emails to your prospect and then heard nothing back from them. And it may be time to pick up the phone and probably talk to them. And don't stop at just a phone or an email either. I mean, you can get connected to them on professional platforms or on something that they literally have a common interest between you and them, or something that they like. So you could even talk to them on a virtual basis on LinkedIn. There's no reason that you can't use that to follow up. You see, follow up through their teams is another option. Hey, is he there? Can you just pass on the message? Can I come and drop in, or something like that? Or like I mentioned earlier, there are different levels of follow-ups: sending blogs, doing of course, we said the sales calls, hiring a virtual assistant for doing chatting, scheduling a weekly jam with them, bot builders. So many ways of doing follow-ups. So you can even automate your follow-up system. The second thing is space out your follow-up system. Space it out. Okay. The quickest way to annoy your prospect and put them off is by not following up too many times. Okay. So it's spacing your follow-ups together. I mean, don't you get irritated when some salesperson keeps calling you consistently after a day or 2 days, and that chases them off? Every day might be too often. Once a month might be too slow, but once a week is an appropriate kind of a thing, depending on the circumstances. You got to understand the prospect's time frame. If the prospect has said, okay, I'll come back to you, say a week, following within would literally annoy them. So be very careful that you're spaced out when you're following. So first is you use various methods. Don't just keep calling by phone call and just by sending emails. Use different methods to follow up. Second is see that the follow up is spaced out. Now the third one is provide value. So you've got to provide value in your follow up. Providing value. So provide value with each follow up. Begin by asking the prospect how they are, how their business is going, and keep in mind the prospect's pain points when you went and met them first. Keep that thing, and that's what they're going to remember. Use those few of those words, and remember what problems that they're trying to solve. Include a link which is a relevant article for them. You have a blog post which can really support them, or send them a video or a follow-up email or anything that can give them any special offer or limited time discount, or even something that could just solve their problem. If you get, not from you but from somewhere else, you get some solutions to their problems, that's going to help them. So you got to provide value to them. Number 4 is define the next steps. So you got to define your next steps. Always define the next steps. This is the most common mistake, salespeople literally do and make, is if they give a timeline, then arrange for that timeline and take the next step after the timeline, and tentatively, softly fix the date for your next meeting. I will call you on this day. How's 9:30? Does that sound much better to you? It's very important that you define the next steps. If you buy, what's going to happen? What are the next steps? If you do not buy, what's going to happen? What are we going to start off with? It's very important that you define the next steps to them clearly, and that's a definite way of follow-up system. Number 5 is remember. Please remember, keep it brief. You can go there for anything else. Keep that follow-up brief, and you can talk about everything else with your prospects. But follow-up can be kept brief. Don't make your conversations and emails long. Keep it to 5 to 6 statements and keep maximum of. You can't literally be following up forever. You need to keep it maximum to a level of maybe 5 to 6 to 7 follow-ups and not much beyond, or else they would be taking you for granted and they might think that you are desperate, and that's one thing you don't want them to think at any point of time. You can be in touch, but don't follow up on the subject again after that 6 to 7 follow-ups. So the most important tip is in increasing or enhancing your conversion rate is follow-ups. So don't be afraid to follow up. Just reframe your mind to the amount of value that you're giving them. You are telling them that they literally need your product. And don't miss out on the sales system. Include in the sales system the follow-up for every week in your sales process. Use it, implement the follow-up bit. That's where your conversions come. And they stack up, So stacking up the follow-up numbers will give you a smooth conversion rate. And here's the thing, when you join my community, you are going to have a whole course on making sales simple. And one of the topics is how to make follow-up in your system a very simple thing. And that comes up with accountability. So I would put you, and the community and the team would put you into accountable levels for following up, for doing sales pitches, all of the topics. And so you can join my next web class, and that topics will literally keep you into practice of your selling habits. And if you want to know more, the web class is for 90 minutes, and you can register and subscribe by clicking the link below. Also, do hit the like icon here down, and do subscribe to my YouTube channels for more videos. Thank you very much for your time today. Until next video. Thank you and see you soon.